Joining us for more on this, it is talkSPORT's very own Ian Abrahams. Morning to you, Ian. How are you?
I'm right now. How are you?
Yes, very, very
Very
well.
high,
Moose.
I suppose in some ways, I know that his contract was coming up to an end and there was a lot of speculation about whether or not he would continue in his role. Does it surprise you that he's left?
No.
No.
I mean, once he lost the opening game to Switzerland, really, and they were up against it in the Euros, and they were basically put out by Portugal, although they did give themselves a chance in the last game with the victory over Croatia, but obviously conceding that late goal meant they went out. Once they went out of the tournament, that was it. His contract wasn't going to be renewed in the summer. And you look at the failure this time around, the failure 2 years ago in Italy and San Marino when they had a fantastic squad. I mean, you have to reel off some of the players that were involved. Pickford was involved, Henderson was involved, Mason Mount, Phil Foden, James Maddison, Tammy Abraham, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. If you couldn't even get through a group stage with those sort of players at your disposal, I think you're always up against it. And although he got to the semi-finals and a penalty kick away from the final in 2017, I think the FA were always going to make a change this summer. The two interesting things are, the statement put out today by the FA says that Boothroyd felt it was the time was right for him to leave. That's not what he was telling us a month ago during the tournament. He was emphatically saying that he wanted to stay on. So there's been an apparent change of mind there, or his mind has been changed for him. And secondly, of course, he did describe it during the Euros as an utterly impossible job. I'm not sure his bosses at the FA would have taken too much.
Moose, you said there, the utterly impossible. There's two things. I couldn't believe that Adi Boothroyd was in charge of the England under-21s in the first place, because you're talking about elite athletes, elite sportsmen, right? Nothing in Adi Boothroyd's career has been elite. He did a decent job at Watford. He was at my old club, Colts United. I think left Northampton at the bottom of the league when he was there. And then he said about developing players, right, for the England national. His job isn't about developing players for the England national team. The clubs do that. His job is when they come for the under-21s is to make sure that he gets them organised, he gets a good team spirit, and he imparts the philosophy of what the senior manager does. So there's a continuity of the way that teams are playing. So for him to say it's the utterly impossible job, I think was him trying to be too clever. It just sounded ridiculous.
What he meant by that was, and I do completely understand kind of where he was coming from. Maybe his choice of words were not great. Take this tournament, for example. I think there were 6 or 7 players playing for Gareth Southgate in the World Cup qualifiers against San Marino, Andorra, and Poland recently, who all could have played. No, it wasn't Andorra, was it? But you know what I mean. The 3 World Cup qualifiers, who all could have, instead of playing in those World Cup qualifiers, could all have played instead for Boothroyd the under-21 championships. And the feeling very much is once you joined the senior squad and played 3 or 4 games for the senior squad, that's it. Your under-21 career is over. And I think there has to be a decision made now as to whether or not the under-21s is just a schooling for the international team, or whether we actually want to win these tournaments at under-21 level, in which case some of your best players are going to have to drop back down to play in these tournaments, try and win them. Having said that, as I highlighted in Italy, and
he had enough talent. There was enough talent. By the way, the under-21s is you hopefully you get into the England squad, and if you play well enough, you stand in what we call a big boy squad. The under-20, then you don't go and put those. Someone like Jude Bellingham, for example, right? There's no point in him going back and playing for the England under-21s because he's too good for that. Yes, but I'm saying there's no point because Jude Bellingham is too good for the under-21s. It's like someone passing their A-levels, I'm going a bit old here, and saying you've got to reset your GCSEs because you've passed through that level.
No, I absolutely get that. I completely and utterly get that. But, surely if senior team are going to win things, hopefully they will, you want to create a winning mentality. You want to create a squad whereby players are playing.
You get that at your clubs. You ain't going to get that playing for the under-21s. Adi Boothroyd can't develop these. Not one under-21 manager has developed any of these players that have gone into England's full squad. They've all been developed at their clubs by their coaches.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because he did say after they exited the Euros that when asked about was he still the right man to manage the England under-21s, he said, "I think so. The amount of players that have come through would suggest there is a pathway working.
He hasn't developed them.
No, I get your point of view.
No.
Absolutely. The clubs are the ones that develop them.
It's all down to St George's Park and the FA and bringing, getting this pathway there mapped out. Would you say, Ian, hi, by the way, Ian, the best route to take now for the manager at this level is to get someone, maybe a manager who's had quite a bit of experience, Championship, even Premier League, and is now sort of an older guy with these players, and say, right, you know how to play football. You're working for Jurgen Klopp. You're working for Guardiola.
This is the way we're going to play.
Right. That I'm not going to teach you how to do that. You already know that. I'm going to give you my experience and show you how you can be consistent, how you can adapt, how you can get game management and get intelligence on the pitch. Maybe that's what it needs, is an older guy now.
I think it would be frustrating for an older guy, for a more experienced manager to come in and deal with these young players and then not have them and have them taken away from him because they're going to the seniors. However, I mean, look at someone like Steve Cooper at Swansea, did really well in England's development groups, got a job at Swansea and has done really well at Swansea. Look at people maybe like Keith Downing and Paul Simpson, who are on the coaching staff at Bristol City, haven't done so well this season. I think you've got to have young coaches, young managers maybe, who are able to coach younger players, but also coach them as men. I think it's a really difficult. I mean, I've heard names bandied about. Trevor Sinclair said he wants the job. I've heard Frank Lampard's name bandied about. I think it would be a very frustrating job for people like that to suddenly have in one camp someone like Reece James or Jude Bellingham, and then for Gareth Southgate to go, no, I want to have a look at them for the senior team, for them to play well in the senior team and then just be kept in the senior.
No, that's not a difficult job. You're dealing with the elite under 21 players in the country, right? So part of your remit is you get passed on when you're young and you're good enough. You go into the full squad. You're still dealing with other. You reeled off the names, for the group stage against Croatia, Portugal, and Switzerland. That group of players, he said himself, Eddie Boothroyd, and I quote him, they have ability, they have togetherness, they have team spirit, right? Ability is the key word there. It's up to a decent coach. I don't see the under-21 job as being particularly difficult. I really don't.
No, he's made mistakes all the way along. I mean, 2 years ago, he made what I thought was a catastrophic mistake in the second game.
Yeah,
exactly.
Trying to be too clever. Right.
This time round, all right, through injury, he didn't have Josh De Silva, who I think was a huge miss. And it was utterly perplexing why we didn't see until I think it was quarter of an hour from the end of the second game, Eberechi Eze of Crystal Palace. He should have started, I think, from the beginning. But then I'm not the coach, and they're the decisions that any coach at any level, any football club will make. Selection is kind of what you live and die on in terms of your managerial career at a club or with a development team or with a country. What I am saying, and I go back to it, is that how serious are we about winning these? And I think if you're going to be serious about winning it, you have to play your best players. Jude Bellingham is a great example. Marcus Rashford, another one. Rashford played one under-21 game, scored a hat-trick at Colchester, was never seen again in the under-21, straight in the season.
He's too good. He's too good for the under-21s. That's the point. Right, you pass that by.
Right,
there's still enough talent.
But we hark on about we haven't won this tournament for 37 years, it will now be 39 years. If we want to win this tournament and we want to stack up the cups and the trophies at all the development levels, you have to play your best players. If they're good enough for the seniors, all well and good. But for one tournament, don't see it as being dropping down, as being some sort of punishment. I mean, Hudson-Odoi was the only one that, inverted commas, dropped down from the senior squad to play in this tournament we've just had.
So I'm talking about Eddie Boothroyd here, Moose, and I talked about elite players, right? So surely if you're coaching elite players, elite athletes, you need some experience, whether you've been an elite coach or an elite manager yourself or an elite player yourself, to get into those players' mindsets. Eddie Boothroyd had neither. He was just progressed because I think he was under 19s, wasn't he, then under 20s. But he's had no experience at all of coaching anybody of an elite nature.
To a certain extent, you're right. I mean, I would throw at you from what you've been discussing in the first hour. Mikel Arteta had no experience of managing elite players.
But he's played. No, but he's played at an elite level.
I know he's played. All right, let me throw at you Steve Cooper, won the World Cup with England's under-17s. He had no experience of playing at any sort of level
It's different
until
managing under 17s, under 16s, because they'll buy into anything you tell them to do. As they get older and they're training with the main coaches and the main managers.
I think that's a fair point, Perry, as well, because the under 21s, of course, are players that will be playing first team football, whereas the under 16s, the under 17s might not be playing first team
They'll buy
football
into you,
more.
Moose. They'll buy into even more psychologically than when they start getting their own opinions at 19, 20, 21.
I think the worry for the worry for football fans, and it's not really about Adi Boothroyd, whoever was doing the job, is that football at the under 21 squad, they see playing for that team as, well, why am I in the full squad? I should be in the full squad. I'm better than Ollie Watkins. I'm better than Bellingham. He's only a kid, and they don't enjoy playing for it. They don't see it as like, if you're picked for the under, if you're 16, you get picked to play for them. Yeah, that's the greatest thing. You're just out of school and you got an England shirt on, and then you're in the full squad. But there are those intervening things, and I think most might have a point here. Maybe you just use them to say, right, you're not going in the full squad. You're going to play in this tournament. Winning isn't the important thing, but you've got to learn the things that are keeping you out of the full squad. I've got a list of them, and that's what you've got to sort out in this squad. It should be used as almost like a training camp.
Well, now the FA will have to decide who will take over from Adi Boothroyd and who will lead the under 21s going forward. Ian, thank you for joining us. Appreciate your thoughts on everything that happened with the breaking news emerging from the FA today, with Adi Boothroyd stepping down as the England under 21 head coach with immediate effect.